So I, of course, had to work through all this calling language, right? Because anybody who knows me is like, knows that I'm not going to answer questions straight up until I ask 18 other questions. I divide my calling in sort of two different ways, right? One is, how did I first hear my calling to Christ? It's very much, for me, connected to the Gospel of Mark. And when I studied the Gospel of Mark in college, and Jesus begins to talk about giving one's life, right? To lose your life to gain it. And so when I heard that call, I was like, okay, I want to know if that's actually right. So I began to experiment, trying to learn to live differently and give my life. It changed the direction of my life, what I was thinking about doing, like being a lawyer and all of this, using my gifts in certain ways, and it turned my life around and upside down. And it wasn't, yeah, it was very disruptive, as it is. But the second one is really sort of how I think of my vocation in terms of what do I do in my daily living to both make a living, but also kind of what's my role in the body of Christ. I think that part of what I do is kind of turn up the heat in situations. So for good or for ill, initially, I don't like conflict, but I don't shy away from it. And I'll often push into things, and I'm created that way. That's part of how I articulate what I'm doing as a professor. I'm trying to take things that often have become rather dull or boring or stayed in my discipline of ethics, for example, and that ethics for us is turning up the heat in a person's life to say, yeah, okay, how do you think about that in a way that is not just about a rule, but is about a God who's actively involved in the world? Part of my growth as a Christian and as a woman of faith and as an academic is knowing how to do that in ways that aren't about me, that I'm not really the fire. I'm attending to that. I'm attending to the crucible that is the church or is the world in which God is active. And so I'm stoking the fire, but I'm not actually the one who's doing the work.